All right. This broadcast is live. Okay. So this is number two. This is part two. So I'm now taking live part two, right? And I'm going to share it here live. Okay. Like that. And going on to put it on the Facebook and Twitter live. Okay. Like that. And going on to put it on the Facebook and Twitter. Okay. Here it is on Facebook, and I'm posting it to Facebook now, so that's posted there. There's two of me. Don't worry, bear with me, okay? All right. Now, hopefully Mohammed comes on over along with everybody else. And then I'm going to tweet it out in the same way that I tweeted out the other one, okay? So, Shocks Raider Nation Raiders versus Chiefs Oakland NFL live stream. All right, so that's done. Boom. Okay. All right, so that's done. And then, all right. Oh, I'm going to create a post over here. I'm going to say live here and live there. All right, so now that I've done all that, live part two, and went back to the other stream, which is this one. Okay. Hey, Bowen Lee, I am going. Hey, Bowen Lee, follow here. Okay. That is the new stream. All right. So, folks, I'm going over. See that stream over there? That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. That's the new live stream. It's active. Follow me over there. Okay. I'm closing this stream. I'm going over there because then I can show you more graphics and everything else. That's why I'm doing it like that. Okay. So I'm ending this stream now. Okay. So this stream is over. All right. Cool. Okay. So that stream is finished. All right. And now we are at StreamYard over here. Hey, everybody. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share screen, open it up, and I'm going to NFL.com. Boom. How's that? Okay. So now we can take a look at the statistics from this game, right? And it says Chiefs avenge loss with win in Vegas. I have to say, look, I've seen a lot of football in my life. That, and I watched it with my mom, who was just equally blown away. I thought maybe she'd come up here and talk with me about it, but that blew us away. Okay, just plain blew us away. You know, if I click on, it's interesting. If I clicked on that, it gave me it went to an interim page where they were selling jerseys. So we've got, as I say, Travis Kelce. But let's look at the stats for this. All right. Patrick Mahomes, 34-45, 348 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. One beautiful, glorious interception that I thought was the bellwether symbol of a victory. Didn't happen. Derek Carr, 23 of 31, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Rushing, we have in terms of the stats, okay? We have the NFL has to work on its stats thingy. Let's try that again, all right? Rushing. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 14 carries for 69 yards. I thought we did well in bottling up the run. For the Raiders, Josh Jacobs, 1755 yards, 1 touchdown. Didn't get the 100 we wanted. And I thought a lot of this Nelson Aguilar, by the way, had 6 catches for 88 yards. He's emerged as the Raiders' receiving star, even over Henry Ruggs. I thought, Muhammad says, yeah, it was, first of all, it was definitely that. It was definitely a game for the ages. I mean, without question. And let's see if there are any NFL. They have the top plays here, but this is not playing. I think the NFL really needs to do a better mating with YouTube. All right, because if we can go to the highlights here. They have Travis Kelce's top plays, Mahomes' best throws, none of which are actually refreshing to give us anything. So let's do this like this. Let's go to Twitter. You know why? Because with Twitter, we can actually get decent. Can you see that? Yeah, we actually get decent photos, okay, and decent stuff. Okay, so let's go. Let's see, Chiefs and Raiders, and don't quite know who that is or why. This is the play. Look at this. He runs. Look at that, and scores. Boom. And in so doing, he pulled out. You saw this. He pulled the free safety out of the way, and I don't know why I got Derek Carr rubbing his nose, but this is it right here. Watch this, okay? Chris Collinsworth draws up really well how Travis Kelce goes down to the middle. Free is there. He pulls him out of the way. Mahomes does by moving to the right, then throwing back to the left. A lot of people just don't know how to do that. Derek Carr had a fantastic game and hit a lot of great clutch throws. I know a number of people are saying, hey, you know what? We played well with the Super Bowl champs. I have a different point of view. I don't care. This is me, okay? I don't care what the team is. Our job is to win. And it's a game I wanted because it would have signaled that the Raiders had overcome the Kansas City curse, that they had exorcised the demons of the past, right? You know all that. So I really, for a whole host of reasons that are rooted in Oakland history, wanted this game, and it didn't happen. Bowen says he calls it a kerfuffle. Hey, from Hong Kong, how you doing? Muhammad says, what a game. Yep. And he says, Mahomes will go into the Hall of Fame before he retires. It was to that level. Raiders seeing a lot of good things and just need to get over the COVID drama. The COVID drama makes this a weird season, without question. It really does. And so looking back at the game in terms of things that maybe should have been different, right? First of all, that wasn't one of them. That was a brilliant play, a brilliantly designed play by John Gruden, left Darren Waller wide open. And I believe that play they actually got from the Chargers. This is Mahomes, and when he was intercepted, his one interception. And that's where I thought, you know what? We've got the game. We've got the game. Didn't happen, though. And let's face it. If we go back to what went wrong, you have to look at one thing. You've got to look at that prevent defense. We didn't press them. We played loose, and we let them pick up chunks we let them pick up yardage in big chunks, rather than pressing them, blitzing, forcing Mahomes into an error. We gave him space and freedom to run. Okay, that as one example of what I'm talking about. If we go back to the play, look. Let me if I can freeze this, and I can't seem to. Wait a minute, I can right here. I could freeze it right there, okay? All right, let's go back to this play. And, hold on a second. Okay, I just froze it there. All right, look at the defense. And look at how we're pre-spread. We're giving them room. We're not going to rush them. All right, look at this. Okay, we rush with 4. We don't blitz a 5th, and we're spread back there. All they need is to get in really the field goal range to tie, but we gave them enough room to move for a touchdown. This was a mistake. So he's got all the time in the world to throw. That blocking where you see how their bunch is called, that's the product of something called slide blocking. And look at what the Chiefs do. This is what you get when you're playing a team that's well coached. All right? They slide block to the left, okay? Look at how they guide the Raiders to the left. Look at that. They practice that. And so they're bunched up. So Mahomes has room to maneuver to his right, which he does do. See, look at him, all right? And then he throws, okay? So slide blocking was the real key here. Sliding the one side, the offensive line moving in unison to help the quarterback get time to throw. And that was the key here. Now, slide blocking doesn't work so well when you have a blitzer and you're stunting. In this instance, see that? No stunts and no 5th blitzer, all right? Nobody to come off that chunk and come around and sack Mahomes or just even pressure him. So as a result, what we got was that. Ouch. Wide open. Okay, wide open. All right. And this wasn't the only time, during that contest during that drive, I should say, that this happened. We let him walk down the field. I would have preferred pressuring him and taking the risk of a big play rather than assuring a big play by playing loose. It's difficult to ask a defense to defend these guys, these quick guys, with a setup like that. Let me get your comments. Muhammad says a few things. That field goal on 1 yard line, I think that changed things. Should have gone for 4th. Got it. Okay. Bowen Lee says, hey, Muhammad, it will take a long time to get over COVID-19. I agree. Welcome, everybody. Then he says, Nico says, I'm not even mad. I'm happy how the Raiders play this game. Told me they're not losers anymore. I didn't view them as losers. I think what's happened is that, well, several things have happened. First of all, we've had now the 3rd year of the John Gruden system, but the 2nd year with Mike Mayock, and I believe the majority of the team is new. In other words, they consist of players that were brought in post Reggie McKenzie, and nothing against Reggie, just being honest, okay? And more tuned with what John wanted to do as opposed to, in between or wants to do. Muhammad says, I think it's time to put teams in the bubble. NFL is really taking a risk by having these guys travel around. I agree with you there. There should be a standardized approach where every stadium in the NFL is considered a bubble and no fans can go in anything with them. It doesn't matter where they are, no fans. But what's going on is you have 32 different environments, okay? And that in and of itself is breeding this problem. 32 different environments. Because if you have patrons in some places, like, say, for example, Cowboy Stadium, that means they can roam around, right? That means that they're breathing the air and that air is getting circulated to players. We don't know where the coronavirus came from. The World Health Organization said in 2000, this year, November 5th, in a report that there's no conclusive evidence where the coronavirus came from. And a number of animals can carry it, not just bats. Dogs, cats can carry it and transfer it from one animal to another. However, there's no known instance of animal to person transfer of the coronavirus to this date. So, no one knows where this came from. It could have been something that was the creation of a experiment on the International Space Station. No one knows. No one knows. And that should scare everyone. It certainly scares me. And true, too many COVID cases per team. Yeah, look at the Patriots are decimated by that. It makes it folly to evaluate the performance of a Cam Newton or anyone else if your team is so fundamentally different week to week, right? Where it counts. But it says, hey, Muhammad, everyone in the bubble, yeah. It makes it really difficult, to for people to say, hey, exactly where are we, and what's going on within the league, and it's a gigantic problem. It really is, because on top of this, we have the social unrest that's coming, because think about what we're having. And these, I'm going to go off on a tangent too much, but all this is interrelated. Hey, welcome to Zenny 62. We've got what we're talking about here. If you just joined us, we're still talking about the game. Okay, so I'll leave this up here so you don't get confused. I'm still focused on the game, but I want to make a point here, and the point is very simply that we've got Bowen Lee says, hey, so only human. Oh, by the way, that Twitter account of mine is not one I really use, but it's active. So only human to human transmission has been confirmed. Yeah, that's true. Human to human transmission, but not animal to human. All right. Animal to animal, yes, but not animal to human. And that comes from the World Health Organization report of November 5th. And let me get that for you, since I'm talking about it. It's not fair for me to refer to that. And not World Health Organization, COVID-19 situation reports, global research. See. World Health Organization, COVID-19. What I'm looking for right now is where it came from. All right. And the date is November. Here. Oh, that's not it. Let me try this. November 5, 2020. And let's see here. Situation report. Yeah, I would read. It's worth looking for here. I would start here. Okay, there. There. All right. So, The Twitter account that I'm using is Oakland News Fan right now. I'm still trying to get Zenny62 back because uh, they had no business. What they suspended it for was not something that I actually did, and I believe it had to do with uh, a group of French folks I was tied up with in a group with CES before CES, and I made a vlog where I stated my concerns about Ivanka Trump speaking at CES as her father was declaring war on Iran. I felt like she was, putting us in danger, and I put that video up. I tweeted it out. They retweeted it, the French guys, and about an hour or so later, next thing I know, my account suspended. I'm like, huh? And then they came up with all these reasons like, oh, you have multiple accounts. Well, if you type multiple accounts Twitter in Google, the first result is a page telling you how to set up multiple accounts on Twitter and that you can have them. So, excuse the digression for a moment. It's a lot of BS. So there it is. But here's the thing. You want to find out about what I'm talking about or communicate with me or anything, just go here. All right? Because this is that Twitter is Jack Dorsey's platform, right? This is mine. OaklandNewsNow.com. That's my platform. That's mine. It's Zenny62 Incorporated. Zenny62 Media Incorporated. That's my company's blog. Yeah, it owns 100. I'm 70% owner of my company. Go there. That's my platform. That's my Twitter. Right. So, all right. So back to what I was saying is that let me get your comments here. Says Ibrahim, I think it depends on a team. Abraham basis. Teams like the Cowboys and the Raiders and Rams are all hurt by no one being in their expensive stadiums. Teams like the Jags should be fine, though. Interesting. He says November 3rd, I think. Actually, that report, the study was November 5th. Yeah, November 5th. And then, Ibrahim says, I'm sorry. I thought you were referring to me. Says the NBA lost hundreds of millions of dollars due to COVID and utilizing a bubble type of play for the athletes. Do you think that will set the NFL back financially at all? The NFL's already set back financially. Look, everybody's hurting from this. And to show you just how much trouble this has been for the NFL, remember the task force that the President Trump had supposedly set up earlier this year? They were supposed to be bailed out. Well, whatever happened to that bailout? That task force included Bob Kraft, Jerry Jones, Roger Goodell, Adam Silver from the NBA, Major League Baseball Commissioner Bob Manfred. Where's the money for them, right? Where's the money for anybody? They've sat on this money, only released maybe $2.5 trillion, and that's it. When we're looking at something that has a $9 trillion price tag, because when you shelter in place, you effectively cut the legs out from under the economy, unless you're going to give businesses the assistance they need to be able to afford to shelter. And then there's this another problem on top of that. A number of small businesses face. If you're running a bricks and mortar business, you've got maintenance you've got to do, pipes, all other things that if you're not there to maintain them, they could go wrong. Maybe a pipe breaks. You've got what happened to a friend of mine in Oakland, a $10,000 water bill. You don't know how it got there until you got in your place and realized you had a pipe broke, right? This is a gigantic mess that we caused in our reaction to the virus, and we're not responding to it. I'm not suggesting that somebody else is doing it better than we are, but I'll go there. Okay, I'll say that, for example, countries that are not afraid, like the UK, to subsidize their people being at home are doing better than we are. I'm not saying they're doing well, but they're doing better than we are because we have this issue of, we don't want to help everybody. Remember, like Lindsey Graham said, we don't want to pay people more than what they're getting at work. But what he's forgetting is this. If you have a bartender that's making minimum wage and you think that's it, you're forgetting that bartender gets a tip. Those tips are part of what I call the gigantic informal economy. And so what we've done, and the reason why we're having all these problems, is because we have taken the informal economy and we've almost killed it. Tips and everything else. All right. That you can't easily get a tip as much through electronic transmission. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Of course it does. But you and I both know that you can't go to a bartender, or you can order something from a restaurant, but it's not the same as being there and tipping someone. It's just part of our culture. We have taken that part of our culture and just taken it out. We have wrecked the informal economy, and then we've ensured its wreckage by saying, well, I don't want to pay them as much as they were paying per hour, forgetting that a lot of people make more money than that because of tips and other types of compensation related to that. This is a big mess, folks, done by the people who run our country. I don't care regardless of party, okay? And I'm a Democrat, all right? So he says Hong Kong and China are doing far better than the United States, saying this is a Hong Kong American. Yeah, thank you, okay? Yeah, we can do better. We really can. Don't want to go too off. Now, let me get back to the fun thing about this, okay? And where we are. Yeah, the Raiders are doing very well and exceptionally well. And we have an easier schedule down the stretch on paper. But I caution you, such teams, when you say easy, I look at trap games, okay? In fact, let's take a look at that notion that we have, that they have an easier schedule right now. And let's go back to NFL.com and see if basically we are NFL. Let's see here, NFL communications. Let's see, where are we here? Let's see here. Let's go to NFL.com. NFL.com. And then let's look at schedule of upcoming games. All right. And then let's look at team schedules. And then let's look at the Raiders, the AFC West. And we find that the Raiders have, in terms of the regular season schedule, this is what it looks like. Okay, we have the Panthers, Saints, Chiefs, Week 5, win, the bye, the Bucks game, the Browns game, the Chargers, the Broncos, and we just finished this one, okay? Next, we have the Falcons, okay? Now, this ought to be, this is 11:29. Ooh, this is in my backyard. This ought to be a cakewalk, okay? I mean, it ought to be a cakewalk. And so I'm going to give us the win, so we could respond by beating the Falcons. But there's a danger here. If the way the Falcons lost to the Saints was purely and simply because the Falcons defense is awful. It just is. It really is. Bowen says, I thought you were going to turn to someone like Terry Bradshaw breaking down blitz packages. I can do that, but not here, because the all 22 for this is not up. The game just finished, right? And I don't like to, I prefer the end zone view. But I wanted to get in the commentary about the defense and how I disagree with that prevent defense, because the prevent defense prevented a win. That's what the prevent defense did. It prevented a win. So I'm not a fan of it. And he says, I think Josh Jacobs is one of the few running backs who were worth the first round pick. Oh, yeah, he's incredible. Absolutely. Absolutely incredible. Anyway, let's get back to the schedule discussion here real quick, and then I'm going to have to close this out because it's almost 2 o'clock. The Falcons, let's give them a win. The New York Jets and the Colts, I think that's a problem game. The Colts are playing great ball. So anyone who would think that's an easy mark on the schedule, not so. All right. And then we have the Chargers, and that's another game that can, with a team that's looking for revenge. Okay. So you have another revenge game there. And then the Dolphins, wow, with Tua and the Broncos. So looking at this, I don't see this as an easy schedule. Of the remaining teams, the Falcons, let's give that a W. The Jets, let's give that a W. Colts, question mark. Chargers, question mark. Dolphins, question mark. Broncos, question mark. Okay. So whoever said that was an easier schedule, I don't see that as easy. Ibrahim says, when will Adam Gase get fired? That's a very good question. You know what? If you were black, they'd have fired him already. That's sad. And he says, will the Browns make the playoffs January 5th, 2003? That's the last time Cleveland was in the postseason. That's so long ago. Butch Davis and Bill Cowher were coaching. It was before Big Ben. Let's take a look real quick at them. I do think it's quite possible they could do just that. Let's go to NFL schedules. Let's go to the Browns and see what we're looking at here with respect to their schedule. Okay. Okay. Regular season Bengals. Let's see where they just finished. There we go. The Raiders. That's Las Vegas Raiders loss. Remember that one? Win. Jacksonville. Okay, so this ought to be a win for them. The Titans, I can't see them beating the Titans, but in this year, you never know. So that would be an L. Ravens, I can't see them beating the Ravens, but that would be an L. Giants, a question mark. Jets a win. The Steelers a loss. So if we say L, question mark, win, loss, and a win, then what we're looking at is looking at playoffs, aren't we? Depending on how everything else shakes out, we're looking at quite possibly a playoff team, which would be quite huge. That would be quite huge. So let's see what happens with them, And I'll do a more thorough breakdown later in the week. But again, it's getting into I don't want to get into the wee hours in the morning. Then wondering if Adam Gase is going to fire is like wondering if his son's going to come up tomorrow morning. I like that one. Are the Cardinals the most watchable team in the league? I would say, given what we just saw, the Chiefs are vying with the Cardinals for most watchable team in the league. The Raiders are right in there as well, given this game. So but see the Cardinals, I call them the cardiac cards based on what they were called in the 70s, right? So they are, but cardiac means you root for them, they give you a heart attack. So hey, most watchable, I would say right now they're until tonight's game with the Chiefs, they were number one. But what happened was 2 weeks ago they were number one, or 2 games ago. Then they gave their fans a heart attack and lost. All right. And so now we have the Chiefs. And so I think the Chiefs have sort of battled them. They're kind of neck and neck like that one. All right. Will Jackson get his mojo back? Last season was too much fun for the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. They cruised to the top seed and Jackson went away from the MVP. What happened? Well, I'll tell you what I think happened. What happened with the Ravens can be summed up in this way. They have a set of plays that they like to run at you, like the read option dive. And while they haven't diversified in their passing game, what the Ravens haven't done is essentially, it's a copycat league, copy some of the most effective horizontal plays that the Kansas City Chiefs have popularized. Why are those plays important? Not just because they're horizontal, but because they're misdirection. And when you have a player like Lamar Jackson, on a team that is ostensibly faster than it was 2 years ago, you've already established that you can be physical. But now you've got to establish that you can be elusive in terms of where the ball is going. And the Ravens haven't done that. But the Ravens' biggest problem isn't really on offense. It's on defense. The one thing that we've seen, and we're seeing it again with the Buccaneers and the Saints, defense wins championships. I said this in another video that I could have been today a quarterback for the Saints or you with the way their defense was playing. It didn't matter. Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston, bring in Trevor Siemian, bring Doug Thornton in out of the box upstairs as the manager of the Superdome. I don't care. Whoever you put in as a quarterback would have done very well today. And it speaks to the Saints defense, but it also speaks to how bad the game plan was that was installed by Dirk Cutter and the Falcons. It was to a point where the Falcons offense was getting thrown around and off the field so often that I believe their defense just literally gave up. They were just going through the motions. So if you had a quarterback like Jameis Winston who understands how to run no huddle, something you didn't see, and let's face it, Taysom Hill, maybe he didn't have an interception, but he had one that was dropped, and he had a fumble that he turned over. And he was throwing these shot put punts up that if the Falcons secondary were better and better coached than they were and presented, those balls would have been intercepted. I mean, you had those balls high in the air, and any normal defense would have come down and picked them off. But on that day, no. At the end of the day, hey, I think it was a Mormon blessing. Taysom Hill is Mormon, that he got his shot and the Lord set it up so that he had a game where he won. That's how I look at it. That was about him proving a point and advancing and setting himself up to advance in his career. He's 30 years old, remember? All right? We're not talking about somebody that's young. This guy is on the higher end there. What I want to see is Sean Payton put Jameis Winston in with a full package. And I think that Jameis is still learning, whereas Taysom has been there for some years. So you put it together. Taysom has been there for 3 years now? Then they just gave him a big contract just as they were bringing in Jameis, right? So it was logical to do what they did. That's how I look at it. But everyone expected to see Jameis because Jameis is a proven quarterback who, as we've seen by how the Buccaneers had to change their own offensive system, was in a lousy system. He was in a lousy system when it was coached by Dirk Cutter, who, I remind you, is the offensive coordinator for the Falcons. Look what happened. All right? History repeating, right? Okay, that should not be lost on anyone that the man who coached Jameis Winston was at the helm of the offense that was crushed by the Saints that he is now with. Think about that. All right? Think about that. Okay? Think about that. Falling for the Tampa Buccaneers, are they legit? I think they're legit. They can be beaten, though. Can the Steelers go undefeated and break the 72 Dolphins magical run? I will say let's check back with each other toward the last game, because there's this tendency, particularly, in this environment, but there's a tendency for teams that get there to fall off. For example, the 2008 Colts came close to running the table, but then they lost their last game. Then they marched in the Super Bowl and they lost to the Saints. The Patriots in 2007 came close to running the table and and did run the table during the regular season. They lost in the Super Bowl. I was at that game. I was at the other game too. Well, no, I wasn't. I left the day before in that Miami game regarding the Colts versus the Dolphins, Colts versus the Saints. But I digress. Point that I'm making is running the table is a hard thing. So let's check back with each other at the last game and see where the Steelers are at. That's a hard deal. And in the middle of the coronavirus, okay. It says they ought to start Jameis, though, considering Taysom's best skills are running and catching. Yeah, they should. Because, again, I'll say this again. The Saints caught a lousily coached Falcons team. I'm very disappointed that the Falcons coach put that kind of team on the field, that kind of game plan. And they're far more talented than they are, and they're exhibited. So, they become a trap. Hey, John Mark says, and he says also the 2015 Panthers lost the Falcons a close one, finished 15-1, got dominated by the Broncos. I was at that Super Bowl game. The Broncos won because on offense, Mike Shula did not install an effective game plan. The Broncos consistently left the fly patterns open. You have Ted Ginn Jr. on the Carolina Panthers, never tested them deep on the fly pattern. All right? Never tested them deep. And they were in love with the idea of Cam Newton as a runner. Cam Newton had 365 yards passing today or yesterday. All right? And hey, John Marks, how you doing? I'm closing out very soon. I'll be back tomorrow. Sorry, but anyway, to close out now, folks, give it to Patrick Mahomes, but we have, so when I say we, I'm talking about Raider fans, we have to call for the Raiders under Paul Guenther as defensive coordinator to stop using the prevent defense. Prevent defenses, prevent wins. All right? I'll see everybody. Thanks. Oh, let me write. Thank you. Oh, John Mark says, tough loss for the Raiders, but his team may go deep in the playoffs. We got to not use the prevent defense. Thanks, all. And I say, thanks, all. Okay, all right. See